Before we proceed, I'd like to turn over this meeting to a student who will receive tonight's President's Award. Please welcome to the dais, Lauren Perez.
Thank you. My name is Lauren Perez, and I am the Student Council's president at Scottsdale Elementary School. It is my honor to call this meeting to order. Thank you. Thank you.
I know. Ms. Perez has been working out. Yes. Good evening. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Ysleta Independent School District Board of Trustees meeting. In accordance with Ysleta ISD Policy BED, this meeting is open to the public and we invite citizens to offer comments during the designated citizens input portion of the agenda. Please note that the board will listen to all input, but is legally restricted from discussing or deliberating on matters presented during this time. The meeting of the Board of Trustees is called to order at 6:02. We have a quorum with Trustee Hernandez, with Trustee Haggerty, with Trustee Ochoa, with Trustee Rivera, with Trustee Dwyer, and myself. Trustee Haggerty, please introduce the JROTC.
Thank you, sir. It's become a tradition to honor our nation at each of our board meetings by presenting the colors, reciting the pledges of allegiance, and then posting the colors. The colors tonight are presented by the Junior ROTC Color Guard from the often imitated, but never bested, the mighty Parkland High School. The Color Guard commander is the mighty Cadet Colonel Ethan Castillo. The other Color Guard members are First Lieutenant Jaron Leandro, Cadet Captain Roman Delgado, and Cadet Private Israel Leva. The pledge leader is Cadet Neo Leva, a seventh grader from Parkland Middle School. Will you please stand for the presentation of colors, the reciting of the pledges of allegiance, the Texas Pledge of Allegiance, and a moment of silence. Please remain standing until the cadets have departed.
And now please join me in the pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Color guard, halt. Inward, eight. Post, halt. Present arms. Inward, hey. Color guard, reform. Color guard, halt. Center, hey. Right, hey. Forward, arc. Left. 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 Right. Left.
Dr. De La Torre, do we have recognitions and introductions this evening?
Good evening, President Bustillos, members of the board, and esteemed guests. We invite our Chief Human Capital Officer, Management Officer, Ms. Bobby Russell Garcia, to lead our recognitions and introductions this evening.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre. We have 5 recognitions for you this evening. At this time, we ask all trustees to please come to the front of the dais. Audience members, please remain seated until all recognitions are complete. Thank you. Our first recognition honors the Scottsdale Elementary School Student Council, which demonstrated exceptional leadership, service, and commitment to making a meaningful impact throughout the El Paso community. Guided by a motto of serve, lead, and inspire, the Student Council mobilized the entire campus to participate in multiple community service efforts. Together, they collected nearly 2,300 pairs of socks for a local homeless shelter, organized a blanket drive to deliver warmth and dignity to residents of a women's shelter, partnered with the El Paso Food Bank and the Office of State Senator Cesar Blanco to combat food insecurity, and proudly supported a Veterans Day event that honored more than 100 veterans for their service. These student council members are a wonderful example of leadership, compassion, and service excellence, and we are proud to honor their contributions with the April 2026 President's Award. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome this month's President's Award winners, the Scottsdale Elementary School Student Council. Here to represent the council is Lauren Perez, President. Mila Avila Leger, Vice President. Abriel Gallegos, Secretary. Madeline Ceniceros, Historian. They are accompanied by sponsors Sandra Garcia and Yvonne Hutterer and Principal Juan Guzman. You're welcome. Yes. Let's hear it for the cadets. Our next recognition is in honor of 3 Ysleta ISD students who won first place in their categories at the Insight Sun Country Regional Science and Engineering Fair, earning an opportunity to compete at last month's State Science and Engineering Fair at Texas A&M University. At the State Fair, these students presented their work alongside hundreds of top young researchers in categories that focused on engineering, biological sciences, and physical sciences. Please help me welcome our 3 Sun Country Science Fair winners. Winning first place in the cellular and molecular biology category for a project called Epithelial Cell Death, comparing the effects of smoking and vaping, is Eastwood Middle School student Ethan White. He is accompanied by teacher Esmeralda Lara and assistant principal Ryan Marquez. Winning first place in the physics and astronomy category for a project called The Science Behind a Fouette is Eastwood Knowles International School student Miranda Fong. She is accompanied by teacher Arlene Lucero and principal Chris Puga. And our final first place winner in the material science category for a project called Ahoy Mate, Room for One More Penny is Del Valle Middle School student Nathaniel Sanchez. He is accompanied by teacher Priscilla Rendon and principal Veronica Frias. Let's hear it for our award-winning scientists. Our next recognition honors Ysleta High School students Dalia Ornelas and Isaac Nevares, who captured first at Regional District 24A UIL cross-examination debate and advanced to the state competition last month. Unfortunately, Dalia and Isaac were unable to join us this evening as they are taking part in another competition, but we recognize and congratulate them for proudly representing our district at state. Our fourth recognition honors the exceptional boys soccer teams from Bel Air, Hanks, and Ysleta High Schools. All 3 teams powered their way into the Sweet 16 regional semifinals in their divisions, solidifying their position as one of the premier soccer programs in the El Paso region. First, we begin with Ysleta High School. During their outstanding season, the Indians achieved a milestone 15 years in the making when they captured both the by-district and area championships for the first time since 2011. Finishing with an impressive 16-9 record, the team became area champions for only the 4th time in school history, setting a new standard of excellence for the boys soccer program. Ladies and gentlemen, representing the UIL 4A Division I by-district and area boys soccer champions from Ysleta High School, please welcome team leaders, Adrian Escalante. Fernando Huerta. Edwin Martinez. Alan Nevares. And Kevin Portillo. They are accompanied by coaches Jesus Padilla and Jesus Quintero and Principal Amelia Garcia. Along with their athletic coordinator, Joe Martinez. Congratulations to the Indians. Next, we have Bel Air High School. The Highlanders began the season still rounding into form, but through trust, communication, and a sense of purpose, the Highlanders banded together to battle through a competitive schedule to become district by district and area champions. Despite compiling an impressive record of 22 wins and 2 losses with 2 ties, the Highlanders' journey wasn't just about wins, but overcoming adversity, building brotherhood, and proving that determination can outweigh the challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, representing the UIL 5A Division I District by District and Area Boys Soccer Champions from Bel Air High School, please welcome team leaders Johan Arroyo, Yael Arroyo, Jared Avitia, and Alan Franco. They are accompanied by coaches Steve Salcido, Alejandro Anoveros, assistant coach Alex Gonzalez, and principal James McIntyre. Congratulations to the Highlanders. Our final Sweet 16 soccer team comes from Hanks High School. This year marked a strong turnaround for the program, with the Knights capturing by district for the first time since 2014 and the area championship for the first time in 20 years. They finished the season 13-12 overall, with senior forward Sebastian Mansur setting a school record 42 goals to rank the first in district and 9th in Texas across all classifications. Ladies and gentlemen, representing the UIL 5A Division II District by District and Area Boys Soccer Champions from Hanks High School, please welcome Zolani Ugay, Michael Colon, Zarak Hernandez, Sebastian Mansur, Evan Ruiz, they are accompanied by their coach Michael Kapusik and principal Daniel Gutierrez. Congratulations to the Knights. Our final recognition honors a hardworking team of students from Valle Verde Early College High School who won first place for small schools at this year's Region 2 Academic Decathlon, qualifying them to advance to the Texas Academic Decathlon Tournament, where they won several individual gold, silver, and bronze medals. As part of the competition, these students not only mastered college-level academic material, but practiced vital, real-world skills like public speaking, all while balancing teamwork, leadership, and time management. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me congratulate our academic decathlon superstars from Valle Verde Early College High School, beginning with gold medalist in interview, Emery Esparza. Gold medalist in speech, Galilea Garcia. Silver medalist in speech, Skyla Garcia. And team members Melody Espino and Marco Padilla. The team is accompanied by Principal Claudia Canava Flores. Let's hear it for the Spartans. This concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you.
Trustee Dwyer, do we have any citizens input this evening?
Yes, we do. First up is Mr. Jeff Seymour.
Good evening, President Bustillos, Board Trustees, and Superintendent De La Torre. My name is Jeff Seymour, and I'm president of the Ysleta Teachers Association. I must admit I was shocked when I first heard about the accusations which were brought forth about Cesar Chavez. I remember when I was in high school at Riverside, and he came to speak to us in the gym about the No Grapes boycott, which in turn brought about change in how migrant farm workers were treated in the workplace and how they were compensated. Little did I know that I would be standing here today as the leader of the largest employee association in YISD. Now let me be clear. We believe every person deserves the right to be treated with love, compassion, dignity, and respect. And as a leader, I believe in those very same principles. As a community, we must do everything in our power to educate and help with the healing process of those who may have been hurt by these grievous actions. This is not about defending or dismissing any one individual. It's about how YSD chooses to reflect its values, history, and its community. If we're going to make a decision of this magnitude, the Ysleta Teachers Association believes the district should follow a deliberate, inclusive process before making any decision on renaming a campus. Students, parents, educators, and community members deserve a meaningful opportunity to weigh in. Rushed decisions on issues tied to identity and history risk deepening divisions rather than building understanding. We are asking the board to lead with process, not pressure. This school belongs to the community. Its name should reflect the will and values of that community. For many families in the Lower Valley, the name carries cultural and historical meaning that shouldn't be dismissed without engagement. We need to hear from the people most impacted, not just the loudest voices. Figures like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta are part of a broader history that includes both complexity and undeniable impact. They helped elevate the dignity of farm workers and brought national attention to labor rights and the struggles of Latino communities. That history matters especially in a district that serves a predominantly Latino student population. Our schools should be places where students learn to engage with history honestly, including both achievements and shortcomings. Erasing names does not erase history. We must prepare students to think critically. As educators and union members, we recognize the role labor movements have played in improving working conditions and opportunity. The legacy of farm worker organizing is part of the larger story of worker rights in this country. That legacy resonates with many of our educators, students, and families. If the board believes a change is necessary, then it should be guided by a structured community process with clear criteria. That process should consider how any name reflects the contributions of those who fought for equity, dignity, and opportunity in our community. This is an opportunity for the district to model what thoughtful leadership looks like. Let's slow down, engage the community, and get it right. Thank you all very much.
Next is Heather Seymour.
Good evening, board members, President Bustillos, and Dr. De La Torre. I'm speaking on this later than I would have preferred, but it wasn't overlooked or forgotten, so I wanted to address it tonight. So as we begin budget discussions, I recognize that these conversations have been difficult and at times discouraging. However, I come before you tonight to have a different conversation. How we as leaders and representatives speak about and support our teachers and staff. It has become increasingly challenging to advocate for public education. That challenge is only intensified when individuals entrusted to represent and protect our district contribute to the spread of misinformation. When statements are made that mischaracterize the work, commitment, and integrity of our educators, it undermines not only staff morale, but public trust. Let me be clear. When teachers are off contract, it is not a vacation. That time is often spent planning instruction, completing IEP documentation, participating in required trainings, and in many cases, simply working to maintain their own well-being so that they can continue to serve students effectively. To frame that time otherwise is inaccurate, dismissive, and the demands of this profession. Additionally, that claim that teachers do not support efforts to save the district money simply because they may not align with a particular vote is both misleading and unfair. Teachers consistently demonstrate their commitment through action. They spend personal funds on classroom supplies, instructional materials, and even specialized equipment to meet the diverse needs of their students. Many go as far as seeking donations to ensure that their classrooms are adequately equipped. That is not the behaviors of individuals who are unwilling to support their district. It is the behavior of professionals who are deeply invested in it. Misinformation is today's #1 enemy. And when it is shared publicly, especially by those in leadership, it reinforces harmful narratives about public education and further erodes the confidence in our schools. Our educators deserve accurate representation, respect, and unified support from those elected to lead. I urge this board to be mindful of the language used when speaking of teachers and to ensure the statements made reflect truth, professionalism, and a genuine commitment to the success of this district. Thank you for your time.
Next is Jaime Abita.
Trustee Dwyer, you butchered my name. It's Abetia, so I'll provide a pronunciation guide in the future. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. De La Torre. I'm here on behalf of the Eastside Democrats. They have sent a letter to you all regarding the issue that you guys will be taking up this evening relative to the name change of Cesar Chavez. They have asked that the process be open, that it be community-driven, and that community meetings be held to get input from the greater community on this matter. Speaking apart from them, and in my own individual capacity as a member of organized labor for many, many years, and also someone with a family connection to both Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez, this is a very difficult conversation to have, but it is an important one for our community. I would urge you all to have a community-driven approach to this, and I would also urge you to resist the desire to change the name to something reflective of a landmark and really be mindful about the contributions that have been made towards the Latino community. We don't get positions that often. We don't get things handed to us. And this is a historical figure who did some very terrible things. But you balance that with what the contribution has been. And this is not the first time that this has happened. Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, you name the leader, and posthumously things come out about the individual that are certainly terrible things that never should have happened. But it is important to remember the contributions made. The Latino community would not be positioned the way that it did had it not been for Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, Corky Gonzalez, and many other leaders in the Latino community during that time period. Some of you came up during those time periods and know what the struggle was like for Latinos across the country, and particularly in communities that are marginalized. So I urge you all to keep that in mind going forward. This is very difficult for me personally. I have not publicly spoken on this, despite being asked by media several times to give commentary. I've refrained from doing so, just because I understand how sensitive of a topic it is. But the contributions made to La Causa should not be overlooked. It is easy to brush aside, and we have done a great job of erasing his name, while the administration in Washington could take some notes because, they'd rather redact names than erase them. But I think that it is important that our community is taking the lead on how to properly deal with this kind of issue. But let us not forget the contributions that have been made by not just Cesar Chavez, but an army of unnamed individuals that history has forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. De La Torre, do we have any presentations this evening?
Yes, President Bustillos, members of the board, guests, we have our 26-27 budget presentation facilitated by Ms. Lindley Camburn.
Good evening, President Bustillos, members of the board, and Dr. De La Torre. As Dr. De La Torre introduced, we do have this month's budget development presentation. On the calendar this evening, we were scheduled to talk about staffing projections. It's a very high-level discussion about that. But before we go into it, I wanted to briefly talk with you about the hold harmless and the freeze loss that you're hearing about in the media and which school districts are beginning to talk about. So to do that, I want to take you back a little bit in history and remind you of how we started. So in 2018-2019, the homestead exemption for public school districts, home or residences in El Paso was $25,000. That was increased to $40,000, then to $100,000, and then to $140,000. all by constitutional amendment proposed by the legislature, but then voter approved as constitutional amendments since 2018 and 2019. Also occurring during that time frame was a change or a compression to our tax rate. So I have to go back even a little bit further in history and remind you that in about 2008, the district held a vote for a tax ratification election, then called a TRE. Now it's called a voter-approved tax ratification election, or a VATER, instead of a TRE. The voters of Ysleta approved a TRE back in 2008, setting our M&O, maintenance and operations tax rate, at $1.17. That tax rate stayed in effect until the 2018-2019 legislative session, and beginning in 2019-2020, they lowered or compressed our tax rate. So as you know, when I come before you in August with the tax rate to establish it, I often tell you, this comes from the state. I'm not setting a tax rate much like the city does. I set a tax rate determined by the state. It's called the maximum compressed rate. And from $1.17 to today, they've reduced our tax rate by 40 cents. So we've gone from $1.17 to 0.7705. Now, all of those changes took place under the guise of, we're going to hold you harmless. So the state said, we are going to impose these changes on you, but at the same time that we reduce your tax rate and increase the homestead exemption, which reduces local revenue, we're going to hold you harmless. On March 11th, so up until March 11th, the district was receiving notification from TEA that we were going to get about $12.5 million to hold us harmless for these various changes. March 11th and 12th, the state comptroller, and mind you, I want to reiterate, this is the Texas state comptroller, not our local comptroller. So the Texas state comptroller revised their methodology and reduced our hold harmless to 0. So from 12.5 to 0 in a day. TEA said, whoa, whoa, whoa. That is not what the legislature intended. We are supposed to hold them harmless for all of these changes you implemented. So TEA, advocating on our behalf, came back and gave us instead $1.78 million. So we went from 12.5 to 0 to 1.78 within the course of about 48 hours. Over 600 districts, and mind you, there are 1,200 districts in the state of Texas, 600 lost funding. In fact, while TEA is now saying, and I'll hold the in fact and I'll show you in just a moment. TEA is now saying we're going to comply with the Texas Comptroller's methodology. We're going to use their data going forward, and we are not going to change their rules. So where they were advocating on our behalf, now what we're hearing is there will be no further changes to the Comptroller's methodology. So what I wanted to show you, and in fact talk about, is we often compare ourselves to the Texas Urban Council, especially when it comes to academics. So I thought, well, let me go see what happened to our fellow districts in the Texas Urban Council. So I pulled strictly looking at their hold harmless information from their summary of finances. I pulled it on February 6th. And then I pulled it again on March 12th. And you can see that with the exception of Austin, Brownsville, Corpus, and Fort Worth, everyone lost money. Aldine lost $14 million, Alief $10.8 million, Dallas $26.9, El Paso $18, Fort Worth gained a little bit, Garland $14.6, Houston $27.9, Socorro $23.5, and Ysleta $10.8 million. What I intended to tell you a moment ago is there are 1,200 districts, 600 lost funding. The state set aside $800 million to hold us harmless. They reduced that to $450 million and removed $350 million from school districts across the state of Texas. Almost a 50% loss. So I thought it might be helpful to walk you through an example, to kind of give you what it's like looking at it from one taxpayer's perspective. So we're going to talk about Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe is 75 years old this year. He has been obviously 65 years old for the last 10 years. So in 2016, his levy, his property tax bill, his freeze was $2,500. That means we collected at this local school district $2,500 from Uncle Joe's property. No matter what happened to his property, how it increased in value, because those properties always increase in value. So no matter how much it increased, we could only collect $2,500. In 23 and 24, the senior lobbying organizations went to the state legislature and said, whoa, 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 this isn't fair. If I hadn't gotten a freeze in 2016, I would be getting a reduction in my homestead, or an increase in my homestead exemption and a decrease to my property tax rate. I want the same benefit my neighbors who are a little older or a little younger than I am are getting. And the state said, you're right, we're going to revise the methodology. So now, Uncle Joe's tax bill is $1,200. We lost $1,300 that the state said they would make us harmless for, and now they aren't. So where we would have had $2,500, it was reduced to $1,200. We should have gotten $1,300 made up by the state. We're getting zero. And what makes it harder for us is we have an older population. So where I had 19,800 homes that were considered under the freeze and we should have been held harmless for, by the state's new methodology, only 800 homes are eligible for the freeze hold harmless. Big difference for us. So now I'm going to skip and go over and talk just briefly about the campus staffing meetings. As you know, every year we get together and we project enrollment, and we've talked already about this. We looked at revenue earlier in our monthly budget meetings, and you know that we're projecting a loss of 1,500. As Dr. De La Torre says, we're hoping for less, but right now we're projecting at 1,500. We then match our teacher and support staff and administrator staffing to that projected enrollment. We also look at programs and we look at class size limits. And there we work with campuses to align the enrollment projections, the staffing ratios, to the campus budgets and the district priorities. We always consider special education, emerging bilinguals, English language learners, and other specialized programs when we accomplish that staffing. The participants in those meetings include campus principals and leadership teams, the HR and finance department reps, along with Ms. Russell Garcia, Dr. Chacon, and myself, and then the SPED director and the federal and state director. So the outcome is to achieve a finalized staffing plan that meets the students' needs and the campus needs while maintaining budgetary efficiency, and together we collaboratively identify reductions in staffing that are commensurate with an anticipated loss of 1,500 students. And with that, let me just briefly review your staffing guidelines. They've remained the same at the secondary level. There are 25 and a half students per teacher. In the 5th grade, it's 25 to 1, and then in elementary levels, pre-K through 4, it's 22 to 1. Those staffing ratios have not changed this year. And with that, I can take any questions.
Mr. Hernandez?
Thank you very much for this presentation. I just want to go over everything you said,
Okay.
just to be sure I understand. So on March 12th, we essentially lost $11 million in state funding that we were expecting.
That's correct. In fact, they took the cash from us at the end of March.
Did you say it was only like with 48-hour notice that this might be happening?
We actually found it ourselves by reviewing our summary of finance. We got a notice from TEA. TEA indicated that CADS made an error. CADS are saying, no, we just implemented the methodology we'd been given. So there's a little bit of conflict among all the governing entities about why it happened, but yes, very little notice.
And it's the state comptroller that came up with this methodology.
The Texas State Comptroller says that it is based on the statutory language as it's written. TEA says, well, that's not what was intended, and they're saying we're implementing what's written.
So TEA said, originally, you guys are wrong. You should not be doing this. And then they just gave up?
Evidently, they feel like the comptroller is abiding by the statutory language.
You said that they made a decision that they're going to go ahead and just follow what the state comptroller says.
That is.
Does that mean that that TEA has the authority to decide what formulas are used to?
The TEA follows the state comptroller. So if
So
the state
TEA can't do anything, they have to follow what the state comptroller says.
That's our understanding, yes, sir.
Okay. And is the state comptroller, do they just do what they want, or do they have to listen to the legislators?
The state comptroller is an elected official, so there probably is some leeway there, but generally speaking, they have the authority to implement the statute and determine the funding, and TEA is required to hand out, if you will, what they determine is the rightful amount.
Is there anything that state lawmakers can do at this point?
So right now, no, but I will tell you, and I think Dr. De La Torre will chime in immediately, we should be talking to our legislators. This is not what they intended. They made it very clear they intended to hold us harmless. It's in all of their media publications starting in 2019 that we would be held harmless for these changes. Yes, it's great for the homeowner, and we support it, but not on the backs of public education.
No, I 100% agree, especially when it affects projections that we made, and suddenly $11 million in funding is taken away. You were talking about staffing. 1,500 students are expected to be lost. Where are we with staff, particularly teachers, and being able to meet our current needs? Do we have enough teachers? Do we have too many teachers for the expected student loss for the district?
So when we project a loss of 1,500 students, we equate that to the number of teachers per grade, per program, and so we very carefully analyze that. I can let Ms. Russell Garcia chime in because it's her team that really does that very detailed analysis by grade level, by campus.
So what we do look at is the projected enrollment. We look at the historical analysis. Currently, we have 2,251 teachers in the district. Based on staffing ratios, we're cutting, I believe it is 93 for the upcoming school year based on staffing.
Did you say we're cutting 93 positions?
And those are pretty much aligned with, we did the early incentive notification. We had 99 individuals that participated. And out of those 99, I'm sorry, I misspoke, it's 83. And so out of those 99, 83 of those positions can be taken in through attrition.
These positions were voluntarily resigned?
Yeah, they took advantage of the early incentive notification, sir.
So are we expected to be where we're supposed to be with, is our staffing appropriate to the number of students that we have?
Based on, if we look at the campuses as a whole, yes. And so we have to treat each campus based on enrollment. So even if there's 17 students in a grade level, they're still going to have one teacher rather than one per 22. So if we look at it as individual campuses, yes, we are absolutely properly staffed. Now, if we did a whole group, we would be overstaffed, but we have to staff by campus.
Last question. How is this going to affect our deficit? Does this just mean we're $11 million added to the deficit that was projected at our last meeting?
So as you know, at our last meeting, we talked about that we were about 2.89, something like that, under budget on the expenditure side. Right now, we're about 2.9 something, so we are roughly running 12.2 million under budget. I anticipate some of those expenses are going to come up. We have postseason, we have some other things, graduations, some expenses that are going to hit, and obviously utilities are more expensive in the summertime when it's hotter in the late spring. But that being said, Dr. De La Torre and our campus administrators and our central office directors are phenomenal. And they've already met, they've already talked about how can we restrict our own spending so that we hopefully make up the entire 10.5 for this year in this year. And so we are carefully looking at every single request for expenditure. If it doesn't meet student academic outcomes, if it's not necessary for that, or it's not a health and safety related expenditure, we're holding it. And we're actually doing that with the support of the campus principals and your support and Dr. De La Torre's. So our intent is, I don't know that we can make up the entire 10.5, but I do think that we'll probably come in around a $16 million deficit, still making up money from the 22 that we had originally projected.
Well, I know it's very difficult times, but I know you and your team and Dr. De La Torre and everybody involved has been doing a fantastic job. I know sacrifices have been made, $10 million in cuts. That was not fun for anybody. But thank you for the update, and we'll keep our eyes on it.
Thank you.
Mr. Rivera.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ma'am, for my benefit and maybe those that are listening in, how does the comptroller decide or divide the pie, so to speak? And do the state of Texas, is it cutting pie charts as to, do we have an equal representation on this side as opposed to the east side of Texas? You know what I'm saying?
So the methodology applied by the state, as you could see from those Texas Urban Council districts, they're all across the state. So the methodology applied is consistent. I don't think that they have differentiated between East and West Texas or North and South Texas. The methodology, they say, is consistent, and it appears to be so when you look at the losses that those other districts experienced.
So that alone, it's just what the trustee Hernandez asked also is, that alone is the final decision that the state has right now for everyone concerned?
Unless you're, so there is an
Besides the
opportunity,
legislators.
and every year we do evaluate property values and we contest them. If we will be successful, then our law firm will contest those values. We sometimes get money back. I think for 2024, we got $1 million back, but we're not going to get 10 and a half back. That's just not going to happen.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, President.
Ms. Cameron, first of all, I want to thank you for your hard work. I'm going to refer to paragraph 4 of the summary. I read it like this. It looked like the district was headed towards about a $5 million deficit at the end of the year. And because of what just happened, that bumped back up to 16 million. Is that accurate?
I'm projecting a $16 million deficit. I don't know that I was going to make a 5. I really thought I would come in more around 10 to 12 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? No. Ms. Leeper, thank you so much. Thank you for
sir.
your hard work. I will now read the annual TASB Continuing Education Credit Report. The 2025-26 annual announcement of the TASB Continuing Education Credit for board members. Please try to stay awake. Under the State Board of Education rule, completing the required continuing education each year for service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As a board president, I am required to announce the names of each member who has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded requiring continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. The requirements for training are measured as of the first anniversary of the date of the trustee's election or appointed, or 2-year anniversary of his or her previous training as applicable. There are 8 training areas for the board members, for board members' continuing education. Local district orientation, orientation to the Texas Education Code, post-legislation update to the Texas Education Code, team building, additional continuing education, evaluating school academic performance, and setting goals, identifying, reporting abuse, trafficking, and other material for children, school safety. To the extent of applicable to each board member, I will announce a completion of deficiency to required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete the requirement training, I will announce the board member who have scheduled timely meetings and those who have not yet scheduled the training. At the conclusion of the announcement, I will announce any board member's training in excess to continuing education requirements. The following first-year board members have completed the local district orientation training. Mr. Rivera, following the first-year board members are deficient in meetings the required local district orientation training, not applicable. The following first-year board members have scheduled training to timely complete the local district orientation, not applicable. The following first-year board members have timely remaining to complete the local district orientation and have not yet scheduled the training, not applicable. If no new board members were required to complete orientation to the Texas Education Code for the prior year, marked as not applicable and announced. The following first-year board member have completed the orientation to Texas Education Code training, not applicable. The following first-year board members are deficient in meeting the requirements and orientation to the Texas Education training, not applicable. The following first-year board members have scheduled training timely complete orientation to the Texas Education Code, not applicable. The following first-year board members have time remaining to complete the orientation to the Texas Education Code and have not yet scheduled this training. Trustee Henry Rivera. Post-legislation update to the Texas Education Code. The following board members have completed the post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code training. Trustee Bustillos, Trustee Woodruff, Trustee Haggerty, Trustee Dwyer, Trustee Ochoa, and Trustee Hernandez. The following board members are deficient in the meeting to require the post-legislative updates in the Texas Education Code training, not applicable. The following board members have scheduled training to complete the post-legislative update in the Texas Education Code, not applicable. The following board members have time remaining to complete post-legislative updates to the Texas Education Code and have not yet scheduled this training. Trustee Henry Rivera. Team building. The entire board and the superintendent must participate in an annual team building session. This training should be completed by the time the annual announcement. And I'd like to say thank you for attending that meeting. Everybody here attended. Thank you. The following board members have completed the annual team building training. Trustee Bustillos, Trustee Woodruff, Trustee Haggerty, Trustee Dwyer, Trustee Ochoa, Trustee Hernandez, and Trustee Rivera. The following board members are deficient in meeting the requirements for annual team building training, not applicable. The following board members were not members of the board at the time of the annual team building training, therefore they're not attending the training for this year, not applicable. Additional training education, 10 hours for the first year members, 5 for the subsequent years. The following board members have completed additional continuing education requirements. Trustee Bustillos, Trustee Woodruff, Trustee Haggerty, Trustee Dwyer, Trustee Ochoa, and Trustee Hernandez. The following board members are deficient in meeting the additional continuing education requirements, not applicable. The following board members have scheduled training to timely complete the additional continuing education requirements, not applicable. The following board members have time remaining to complete the additional continuing education requirements and have not yet scheduled the training. Trustee Henry Rivera. Evaluating students' academics, performance, and setting goals. This training must be completed every 2 years. The following board members have completed the biannual training on evaluating students' academics, performance, and setting goals. Trustee Bustillos, Trustee Woodruff, Trustee Haggerty, Trustee Dwyer, Trustee Ochoa, Trustee Hernandez, and Trustee Rivera. The following board members are deficient in meeting the requirements biannual training and evaluation students' academic performance and setting goals, not applicable. The following board members have scheduled training to timely complete the biannual training and evaluating the students' academic performance and setting goals, not applicable. The following board members have time remaining to complete the biannual training on evaluating students' academic performance and setting goals and have not yet scheduled the training, not applicable. identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other measurements of children. This training must be completed every 2 years. The following board members have completed the biannual training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking: Trustee Bustillos, Trustee Woodruff, Trustee Haggerty, Trustee Dwyer, Trustee Ochoa, Trustee Hernandez, and Trustee Rivera. The following board members are deficient in meeting the requirement biannual training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking. Not applicable. The following board members have scheduled to complete the biannual training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking. Not applicable. The following board members have time remaining to complete the biannual training on identifying and reporting the abuse of trafficking and have not yet scheduled the training. Not applicable. School safety. This training must be completed every 2 years. The following board members have completed the biannual training on school safety: Trustee Bustillos, Trustee Woodruff, Trustee Haggerty, Trustee Dwyer, Trustee Ochoa, Trustee Hernandez, and Trustee Rivera. The following board members are deficient in meeting the requirements for biannual training for school safety. Not applicable. The following board members have scheduled training to timely complete the biannual training of the school safety. Not applicable. The following board members have timely remaining to complete the biannual training on school safety and have not yet scheduled the training. Not applicable. Exceeding requirement continuing education. Board member Chris Hernandez exceeds the requirements amount of continuing education training by 1.5 additional hours. Board member Mike Dwyer exceeds the required amount of continuing education training by 2.5 additional hours. Board member Carlos Bustillos exceeds the requirements amount of continuing education training by 0.5 additional hours. That was close. Board members Connie Woodruff exceeded the requirement amount of continuing education training by 2.5 additional hours. Board member Cruz Ochoa exceeds the requirements amount of continuing education training by 2 additional hours. Board member Shane Haggerty exceeds the requirement amount of continuing education training by 0.5 additional hours. And that's it. I got better saying applicable as I got through it. Okay, there we go. Agenda review. We will now review the April 22nd, 2026 agenda item and motions with the superintendent and executive cabinet. This session allows us to ask questions and gather information before moving to a formal deliberation and action during the required meeting. Consent. Consider approval of all minutes for the Board Trustees Workshop and regular board meeting on March 18, 2026 at 6 p.m. Monthly financial report for February 2026. Number 3, authorize the use of investment broker. Number 4, annual investment policy review resolution. Number 5, annual investment training resolution. Number 6, instructional materials allotment and TEKS certification forms. On to policy items. Number 1, policy CW local naming facilities. Action item, donation to East Point Elementary School. Number 2, ratification amendment of number 6 to ISD contract 98-850-428 with Region 19 Head Start. Number 3, approval amendment to number 7 to ISD contract number 98-850-528 with Region 19 Head Start. Trustee Rivera, did you have a question on this?
Yes, I did. What was the difference between the contracts, that they're the same? One's dated to last through June 30th, 2026, and the other one is June 30th, 2028, identical information.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Dr. De La Torre, Priscilla Mata, Chief Counsel for the School District. Trustee Rivera, so you have before you 2 different action items, and you're right, 2 different contracts. So the first one is the contract that we're seeking to continue beyond the school year. And you'll see that one is a 2-year lease, if I'm not mistaken.
2-year.
And the other one is actually a ratification of a lease agreement that would cover the current school year. This is one of those agreements that snuck by us and really should have come to the board ahead of the school year. And this is the lease that we permit Region 19 to operate their Head Start Amparado in the Lower Valley. And so as a formality and as a requirement, really, the lease agreement has to come to the board in order for the district to lease out its property.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation. Thank you, Board President.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the consent. The order of agenda has been approved. May I have an electronic motion on the consent agenda items listed on the agenda as recommended by administration? I have a motion by Trustee Ochoa.
I move to approve the consent agenda items listed on this agenda as recommended by the administration.
I have a second by Trustee Hernandez. Please cast your electronic votes. The results are in. We have 6 in favor and none opposed. Policy items. Number 1, policy CW local naming facilities. May I have an electronic motion?
Mr. President, I had some comments on this before we were to vote it in.
Mr. Haggerty, go ahead.
I've got issues with this one. I feel like our community is constantly under attack. It seems like the ridiculous changes that were brought about by Senate Bill 2, the state comptroller pulling $11 million from our funding without blinking an eye, I'm sure. And then a story that drops, 35 years after this guy's death, but it just happens to be a week before his birthday. And of course, he's not just Cesar Chavez, but he was the leader of a movement. And they alleged he did horrible atrocities. I'm not saying he did, I'm not saying he didn't. I think that there's a lot of weight behind the people who are alleging. But he never got his day in court. So to have the same knee-jerk reaction, I feel, that so many other communities and organizations took, where they did, it feels like everything they could do to remove this guy from the history books. And then looking at our academy, the Cesar Chavez Academy sits in the heart of the Lower Valley, where many of the community's families there are descendants of farm workers. Cesar Chavez isn't just an abstract historical figure. Neither is Ms. Huerta. The people who live in the Lower Valley around that facility, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, we're farm workers. Cesar Chavez represents the dignity that was brought to the farm workers. It represents the union cards they got, represents that they finally had a voice. The name on the building isn't just honoring a man, it's honoring our community's history, their labor, their struggles. And I think any decision to change that name shouldn't be made from 7 individuals reacting to allegations. It should be made, if it's made at all, by the community as a whole. That means town halls, input from the campus, input from former students, YSD alum, families who live in the area. I had a quick comment I wrote, and then I'll be done. But to me, the allegations against Mr. Chavez, serious as they are, don't erase what the farm worker movement meant and still means, not just to the Chicano community, but everybody in the borderland. And I still think you can hold both truths, that the allegations deserve to be taken serious, and at the same time, communities who claim Chavez as part of their heritage deserve the respect of being consulted before their symbols are removed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haggerty. I have
Mr. President,
a motion. Yes.
I have a question. I want a clarification. If we do this revision, it's just changing the policy that would allow a name change, but really no meaningful action has been taken. We'll need to create another agenda item at a future meeting if we were going to actually discuss changing a name of any facility.
That's correct.
Yes.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, and Trustee Hernandez. That is correct. So before you tonight is only one action item related to the policy that would allow you to rename an existing facility. And so that's what's before you tonight. There is no action item to actually vote on a name change. And you'll notice that the policy itself actually invites the community and obligates us to consider those recommendations from community members and staff and the stakeholders that you all have noted here tonight.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank Mr. Senor and Mr. Abetia and Trustee Haggerty for your comments today on this issue. You know, the reasons that Cesar Chavez was acknowledged in the first place had to do with a lot of folks. This was alluded to in the comments earlier, not just one individual. And I want to be clear, I've always had the stance that 100% the community needs to be involved. I absolutely will be working to host or help host community meetings. I've been in talks with City Representative Lily Lamone about teaming up and making sure that the voices of the community are heard. This certainly isn't a decision to be made by just 7 individuals. There's a lot to be considered and a lot of voices to be heard. So I just want to be on record on saying that I will be looking for community input. I hope to work with you, Mr. President. I know we spoke when this first came up about, well, we got this on the agenda. Thank you for that. And we'll see about setting up the next item that would be appropriate for the next meeting for doing that. So yes, I will be voting yes on this. And it doesn't really do anything at the time, but it does allow for future action to be taken. Thank you.
Trustee Ochoa.
Yes, thank you. I share the sentiment of my fellow trustees. Renaming any school, again, it's hard. But again, this policy is only allowing the board to have that exercise to rename a school, which we didn't have before. So all we're waiting for is just that policy. The renaming of the school, the names that come out, certainly have to go out to the community. Everybody has to be involved, and I'm sure Dr. Latorre and everybody else will, along with our audience here, will participate in that action. So that will be coming forth, and maybe not in the next meeting, because I don't know if we have enough time, but we certainly will move on that and do it the proper way. So, but I just want to say that tonight, we're just allowing ourselves to have that flexibility to make that change. That's why I'm voting. I'm voting for it.
Anybody else? Good? All right. We have a motion by Trustee Ochoa and a second by Mr. Rivera.
I move to approve and adopt revisions to the local policy CW as presented to eliminate the section entitled Renaming Existing Facilities and instead allow the renaming of existing facilities under the same criteria currently required for naming new facilities.
Please cast your electronic votes. All votes have been cast. We have 5 in favor and 1 opposed. Action item. Donation to East Point Elementary School. May I have an electronic motion?
Oh.
Have a motion by Trustee Dwyer.
Okay, before, I just want to give a big thank you to Burlington for this generous donation of $5,000 via Adopt a Classroom. It's greatly appreciated. I move to accept the donation of $5,000 for East Point Elementary School from Burlington via adoptaclassroom.org.
I have a second by Trustee Rivera. Please cast your electronic votes. All votes have been cast. We have 6 in favor and none opposed. Action item number 2, ratification of amendment number 6 to YSD contract number 98-850 for -428 with Region 19 Head Start. May I have an electronic motion? I have a motion by Trustee Rivera.
Mr. President, I move to ratify the amendment number 6 to YSD contract number 98-850-428 with Region 19 Head Start for extension of the lease of Cesar Chavez Head Start Center located at 211 Prado Street and contingent upon final negotiations in-house council review.
I have a second by Trustee Ochoa. Please cast your electronic votes. All votes have been cast. We have 6 in favor and none opposed. Action item number 3, approval amendment number 7 to YSD contract number 98-850-428 with Region 19 Head Start. May I have an electronic motion? I have a motion by Trustee Dwyer.
Mr. President, I move to approve amendment number 7 to YISD contract number 98-850-428 with Region 19 Head Start for extensions of the lease of Cesar Chavez Head Start Center located at 211 Prado Street and contingent upon final negotiation and in-house council review.
We have a second by Trustee Ochoa. Please cast your electronic votes. All votes have been cast. We have 6 in favor and none opposed. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
I motion to adjourn.
That was cut. Thank you for that one. I know you're trying to give me, which sound good.